So you have a not so fast PC and you want to speed up your render time. Well, all you need is a Google account. Since there are over 1.8 billion active Google accounts in the world, I bet you already have one. So in this video, I use Google Colab to render Blender animations for free. Actually, a little while ago, I made a video on this. It worked at the time, but now a lot of people facing a few errors and there have been a slight changes in the process. So I decided to create this video showing you the current process to get your render done. To render using Colab, first we need to prepare our Blender project to have no errors or missing files. Here I have a simple scene I prepared for this test render, with a few simple meshes with textures on them, an emissive material and a glass material, and also a simple trail asset from my engine effects pack, which uses the new simulation nodes, and it's a 25 frames long animation. This means we need to make sure that we pack these textures to the blend file and bake the simulation so it will render correctly. First, I select my simulation nodes asset and hit bake. This will create a cached data folder next to our blend file. This is the same thing you need to do if you have a cloth simulation, or something like that in your scene. You need to bake them before you upload the project to render. Then you need to make sure you pack the textures, HDRI images, fonts, and any other external assets you have in the scene into your blend file. For that, go to File, External Data, and Pack Resources. All of my textures in the scene are already packed, so it says no new files have been packed, but yours will say something like 6 new files packed. That's usually what you have to do if you have a simple scene like this. But let's say your scene is huge and this packing file will result in a few hundred megabyte size blend file. Well, you can still upload that and continue to the next step. But if you make a mistake in your blend file, this means you have to keep uploading that big blend file over and over again. So in most cases, I recommend separating the packed files and the blend file if you have a big project. So to do that, go to File, External Data, Unpacked Resources, and choose the second option to write files to the current directory. This will create a new folder next to the blend file containing all your external textures without losing their connection with the blend file. Here it reduces the blend file size slightly, but in a big project this could be a few hundred megabytes. Now, before you finish setting this up, make sure you are rendering on cycles. Make sure you have all your render settings the way you want. And here in the output path, I just type 2 slashes. We can change the output file format later, so I won't worry about that now. Now go to your Google Drive. Here I have created a new folder to store all the files. Inside that, I'll create another folder and upload our blend file, textures folder, and bake data folder to it. Go one step back and create another folder to store our Blender setup for future use. Also, I create another folder here to store our final renders. You don't actually need to create this many folders, but I just like to keep things organized. Then go to Colab. It's colab.research.google.com. You will be welcome with this screen. They change this layout once in a while, but all you have to do is find the upload section. Then upload this notebook file I provided in the description. It contains a notebook template for you to get started. Don't get scared seeing all these codes. We just have to do a bunch of copying and pasting. Now go to Edit, Notebook Settings, and make sure you are connected to a GPU session. Our first step is to download the correct version of Blender. For that, go to this link and find the exact version of Blender you need. Here in this project, you can see I am using Blender 3.6.2. So that's the version I need to find. I click on 3.6 and find the 3.6.2 version. And here, be very careful. Doesn't matter whether you are on a Windows PC or a Mac. To use Colab, you will need the Linux version of Blender. Most of you do this step correctly the first time around, but forget it when you want to download a different version. So, copy the link of the 3.6.2 Linux version. Come back to Colab and paste it here. Here you won't see any changes because this notebook already had that exact version. Now click on this Run button. Colab will start a new GPU session and then start downloading the Blender setup. This is not something that depends on your internet speed, so it will take some time. But don't worry, you don't need to do this every single time. I'll show you a method to skip this later. So, it took about 4 minutes to download. Let's move on to the next cell. Oh, by the way, these are called cells. Now we need to make a connection between our Google Drive and Colab. For that, run the second cell. This will ask you to provide permission for Colab to access Google Drive. Allow it. You might also get an email saying you provided permission to Colab. Now, if you click on this folder icon, you will see the Colab storage. Here we have the downloaded Blender setup, and here we have the linked Google Drive. Inside it, you will find the files we uploaded. Now, skip the next 2 cells and go to this Install Blender cell. Here, make sure the Blender setup name is exactly what you downloaded. For that, you can just copy that name from here and paste it. Then run the cell. Now, if you go back to Colab storage, you will see we have another folder containing our installed Blender files. The next step is to open Blender and render our project. But to make things a bit easier, here I first tell Colab where is our blend file. For this, go inside your drive, find that blend file we uploaded and click on these 3 dots to copy the file path. Then paste it here inside these commas. Run the cell. This will assign that blend file to this file name variable. Now to the final step, rendering the animation. First, we need to run our Blender application. Find our installed Blender application. This one. Copy its path, paste it here, and make sure to remove this content part. This should be just exclamation mark, dot, and Blender application location. After that, we have a few command line arguments. This B tells Colab to run this application in the background. If you want to know more about these command line arguments and modify these cells, you can check this page in the Blender manual. Here we are referencing our Blender project. We assigned it to file name earlier. We have no audio in the scene. E stands for render engine, in this case cycles. Then O means output path. For that, I find the renders folder I created. Copy its path and paste it here. Here in the last part, I put a slash and type what I want the output file to be named. I call it test render underscore. S stand for start frame and E stand for end frame. I set that to 25. A means animation. We are rendering an animation. If you want to render a single frame, you can use this code, but I don't really see a Colab as a useful tool to render just one frame. Then this F means output file format. Here I set it to PNG. If you want a different format, refer to the manual to see exactly how to press that format. I want to render on CUDA, so I put it here. If you want, you can put optics here to access those cards. Here Colab notified me that I am not utilizing the GPU. That's fine, I am just about to use it. Now click run to start rendering. If you did all the steps correctly, it will start rendering. Once the first frame is done rendering, give it a bit of time and go see your Google Drive to see the rendered results. And here we have the first frame. No missing textures. If you don't see a rendered output, stop the Colab cell and make sure your path is correct. If you see a default cube render, make sure you set the path for your blend file correctly in both cells. As you can see, it took a few minutes to render, mainly because of that simulation node asset. They usually consume a lot of render time. Anyway, here we have all the rendered images. You can select them and download. So let's say you coming back to render another project after a few days and you don't want to spend another 4-5 minutes downloading Blender setup to the Colab. Well, what you can do is store this downloaded setup now in your Google Drive and access that setup next time around. That is far easier than downloading the setup again. So I will copy this downloaded Blender setup to the Blender versions folder I created earlier. First, copy and paste the Blender path of the current Blender setup here. And then copy and paste the path of the Google Drive folder here. Make sure to put the setup name after that. Then run that cell. And you can see we copied the setup within 2-3 seconds. Now let's see how you can import it back to Colab for next time use. First, I delete this file so you can see it clearly when imported. To import it back to Colab, simply flip these two paths here. Then run the cell. And you can see it quickly copied the setup back to Colab. This means you can save quite a few minutes next time when using the same Blender version. All you have to do is mount the Google Drive, copy the setup to Colab, install it, reference the blend file, and render the animation. Once you finish rendering everything and done with Colab, go to here and terminate the session. You can use this option as well. And that's how you use Google Colab to render your Blender animations. But before I go, let me tell you a few more things about Colab. For the free users, you only get a few hours per day to use GPUs. And you have to have the browser open. This is not by any means a crazy fast rendering option. If you have a PC with low performance, you will enjoy the speed of the Colab. Also, since it renders on the cloud, you will have all your PC left to work on something else, which I think is the best advantage you will get from using Colab. But if you are looking for a much easier cloud rendering farm option, you can use Sheepit Render Farm. It is free and it has its own pros and cons. If you are looking for an even better option, I think you need to look into a paid cloud rendering service. I can personally recommend Fox Render Farm. I have used it and just they have sponsored a few videos on this channel, but not this one. This is just my personal opinion. Anyway, I hope you learned something useful. If so, hit the like button, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe to HelloFX Learn so you won't miss out when the next video drops.